Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. With orders from 3 major wafer factories bursting, is the spring of domestic chips coming? Against the backdrop of intensified global semiconductor competition, the performance of the 3 mainland foundry giants, SMIC, Huahong Group, and Jinghua Integrated Circuit, has soared against the trend, with amazing shipments. How can these companies achieve overtaking in just a few years, forcing many international giants to start a headache? SMIC has swept the market with its production capacity advantage, Huahong Group has consolidated its position with diversified applications, and Jinghua Integrated Circuit has joined the international ranks with technology upgrades. Coupled with the strong policy wind, these companies are like domestic chip foundry leaders. Is the story behind this market demand or policy promotion? 1. The last stand of domestic chips. From the besieged a few years ago to the successful start today, the performance of Chinese chip foundry manufacturers can be said to have gone through a process from struggling at the bottom to turning over. In the past, in the semiconductor field, the status of mainland Chinese companies was almost suppressed by international giants such as TSMC and Samsung, and they had almost no market voice. However, what have these Chinese chip foundries relied on to achieve a counterattack in the past 2 years? To put it bluntly, it is hard work. With the increasing uncertainty in the international trade environment, Chinese companies are well aware that begging for food from others is not a long-term solution. So domestic manufacturers such as SMIC, Huahong Group, and Jinghua Integrated have bitten the bullet and gritted their teeth to gradually establish the industrial chain. Some people may ask, is China's domestic demand really so large? The answer is yes. The Chinese domestic market is the world's second largest chip market. China's major IC design companies, especially those closely related to 5G, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things, are increasingly dependent on local foundries. This is both a demand and a pressure, because once a foundry company drops the chain, the impact is not just a problem for a few manufacturers, but is related to the long-term development of multiple industries. Therefore, the phenomenon of explosive orders in local chip foundries not only represents the enthusiasm of the market, but also the result of these companies' sleepless pursuit of technology and production capacity. 2. Behind the surge in orders, policy support is a strong pillar. The rise of domestic chips is of course inseparable from the strong support of policies. In recent years, the country has continuously increased its support for the semiconductor field, and the intensity is rare in history. Take SMIC as an example. It has received financial support from the government in equipment procurement and technology introduction alone, which enabled them to double their production capacity in a short period of time and take on a large number of local and overseas orders. At the same time, the country has also introduced a number of policies to cultivate semiconductor talents and give preferential treatment to talent introduction. These time, place and people conditions are complete, and finally China's domestic foundry manufacturers have come out of the original trough. Government support is not only economic assistance, but more of a strategic layout. After all, semiconductors are the core of the modern information society. Whether it is mobile phones, computers, electric cars, or smart homes, the lack of chips is equivalent to the lack of heart. In the past, China's chips were almost entirely imported, and it was not pleasant to be stuck in the neck, so the country attached great importance to industrial policies. It can be said that under the protection of policies, the rise of China's chip industry is no longer an empty talk, but a road that has been walked out in a down-to-earth manner. 3. From technical difficulties to market advantages, how can domestic chips withstand the pressure? Many people have questioned whether Chinese foundries can really challenge international giants in technology. Because it is well known that the biggest challenge in the semiconductor industry is technological barriers. To give a simple example, for every generation of chip process advancement, the R&D cost behind it almost doubles. But in recent years, China has seen several companies such as SMIC, Huahong Group, and Jinghua Integrated have made continuous breakthroughs in technology. From the initial 28-nanometer process to the current 14-nanometer and even higher levels, domestic chip foundries are gradually narrowing the gap with international giants. More importantly, the technological progress of domestic chip manufacturers is not just theoretical, but has been verified by the market. It can be seen from SMIC's financial report that it achieved a revenue of 15.609 billion yuan in the third quarter of 2023, of which 84.5% of the revenue came from foundry business, proving that it can provide stable services to the global market in terms of production capacity and technology. Huahong Group has successfully entered high-growth fields such as automotive electronics and the Internet of Things with the help of its technical reserves, expanding its business to a wider market. Jinghua Integrated has become a long-term foundry partner for many international customers through its precise grasp of the high-end consumer electronics market. It can be said that domestic chip foundries are relying on a solid technical foundation to win the trust of the market step by step. 4. The counterattack of domestic foundries. International giants can't sit still? The rise of domestic chip manufacturers has put considerable pressure on international giants, especially with the support of local companies in the Chinese market. The capacity utilization of overseas foundries such as TSMC and Samsung has been impacted. Take Samsung as an example. According to the third quarter financial report of 2023, its semiconductor business revenue fell by 8% year-on-year, while SK Hynix's revenue fell by 13.5% year-on-year. Behind these figures, it is precisely the influence of Chinese chip foundries in the international market that has gradually increased, seizing part of the market share that originally belonged to these international giants. This has undoubtedly had a huge impact on the future pattern of the entire semiconductor industry. The global foundry market is gradually developing from a situation dominated by TSMC to a multi-party game between China, the United States, Japan, and South Korea. The future chip foundry market is likely to form several major camps, and the growth space obtained by Chinese chip foundries in this process cannot be underestimated. It can be said that domestic chip foundries are not only seizing market share, but also gradually building their own ecosystem. 5. Future challenges. Domestic chips still have a long way to go, but they are more confident. Although domestic chip foundries have achieved good results, the road ahead is still difficult. After all, there is still a certain gap between domestic chip foundries and international giants in terms of technological innovation and global layout. For example, the mass production capacity of advanced processes is still far behind that of international giants. Moreover, the semiconductor market is extremely volatile. Although the domestic market in China is huge, the diversified demands and policy uncertainties in the international market may also bring considerable challenges to domestic chips. However, domestic chip foundries are no longer starters now, but have the confidence to compete with international opponents. China can see that more and more domestic IC design companies are willing to cooperate with local foundries to jointly promote technological progress. This unity and cooperation within the industrial chain makes the growth path of domestic chips more stable. As long as policy support and technological innovation continue to go hand in hand, the domestic chip industry will definitely have a more important voice in the global semiconductor market in the future. The counterattack of domestic chip foundries has brought a considerable impact on the international market and also allowed the Chinese chip industry to see more possibilities. So in the end, the editor would like to ask, can domestic chips completely surpass international giants in technology? Will China see its chips dominate the global foundry market in the future? What do you think?